Welcome to Grape. Our pick this week is the Navarro Lopez Old Vines Tempranillo Pergolas 2010 vintage from Valdepeñas in Spain, and retails for $14.99. And I'm joined by a couple of very special guests, Francisco Navarro Lopez and Ruedi Wildbolz, the export manager. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, tell us a little bit first. Why don't we start with the region in Spain, Valdepeñas? Tell us a little bit about the region, where it's located, and a little bit about the history of the region itself in terms of wine production.
Yeah.
Valdepeñas es una de las regiones vitivinícolas más antiguas del país, una de ellas, la segunda o la tercera. Es una región que siempre ha estado comercializando vino. En sus tiempos empezó sobre todo con barricas, con pellejos, y sus zonas principales eran Madrid y Andalucía. Y es una de las regiones realmente que predomina sobre todo la uva cencibel llamada Tempranillo.
Valdepeñas is situated in the southern part of central Spain, about 200 kilometers in the south of Madrid. It's one of the most traditional wine regions, besides Rioja and Navarro. And traditional grape varietal is Cencibel, as we call it in our area, much more known as Tempranillo. Traditionally it has been rather, but as well talking about whites and reds, in Valdepeñas we had traditionally much more white wine production than red wine production, and it was sold in restaurants in Madrid and in Andalusia.
Now, we spoke earlier about the fact that Valdepeñas, the region, has gone through quite an evolution in terms of the quality of the wines that are being produced, and it's gone from a region that was historically predominantly bulk wine to a region now that's producing some excellent quality wines of great value. Tell us a little bit about when and how that evolution happened.
Well, the evolution is still going on, but well, it started maybe a bit in the 60s when the first wineries started to bottle their wine. So when you start bottling the wine, you put a label on it, and the consumer knows who has produced the wine. And then if you want to be proud about the quality,
absolutely,
you have to start thinking about improving the quality. This is maybe the beginning, but as I told you, it's still going on. In the 60s, when I was been talking, all the wine was just fermented in open cones without any temperature control, because it was rather production. It was bulk production. Technology arrived always a bit late in our area, but now I would say from the technological point of view, in the last 15 years, Valdepeñas is updated, what can be expected in our.
Now, Francisco's family, the Navarro Lopez family, were growers and decided to change to become bottlers of your own wine. What made, and it was your father, what made him decide to bottle as opposed to simply selling the grapes?
Bueno, la familia Navarro López siempre ha sido una familia dedicada a la agricultura, de siempre, desde nuestros abuelos, y el cambio empieza cuando mi padre quiere cambiar realmente un poco la estructura de convertir la propia uva que comercializa, hacerla vino para realmente poderla distribuir en zonas como al principio Madrid o Andalucía. Ahí sufrimos una gran revolución la familia, realmente nos metemos en una pequeñita bodega familiar donde empezamos a comercializar las botellas, cogemos nuestras propias uvas, hacemos el vino y comercializamos la botella. Hasta que realmente, pasado unos años, empezamos con otra revolución muy grande. Siempre hemos sido una familia un poco inquieta y emprendedora, y empezamos sobre todo la revolución de la exportación, empezando a salir a mercados internacionales y convirtiendo la transformación de lo que era Navarro Lopez en una empresa internacional como es hoy por hoy Bodegas Navarro Lopez.
So the family, his father decided to just let's try to make own wine out of our own grapes, because the family counts with 190 hectares of own vineyards. This started in the early 90s when Francisco still was a very young man. He's still young, but he was this times he was very young, and the father said, all the family together we can do the job. So they started in a very small winery, just making the wine out of their own grapes, and with the years and doing a hard job, we managed, or the family managed, to get the recognition that allowed to improve and to make wines that are now internationally recognized.
And I think one of the great things I find about the wines from Navarro Lopez are the fact that the wines are such great value. The quality, I think, far exceeds their prices, which I think one of the reasons why the wines have been successful, because the consumer, I think, is becoming more educated when it comes to wine, and when they taste wines that are reasonably priced, but taste like they are much better quality, I think that's a very admirable thing. What is it that makes the wines so good? What does the Navarro Lopez family do to make their wines taste so good?
Well, in part, and this is not modesty, I think part of this is not only Navarro Lopez, it's our region. We have been always, since many years, our region has been specialized in doing value wines in the market. So it's just a privilege of the region as well that we can do this. The thing is just trying to do it the best way you can. What can you do just to make our wines that are very accessible wine, and as well the production of the grapes is cheaper than in other regions due to certain factors. How can you make the best out of this? This was the ambition of Navarro Lopez, and I think we have always tried to be a bit one step earlier than the competition. This is maybe our merit, but the region as itself has big potential for value wines.
Tell us a little bit about this particular wine, the Pergolas.
Pergolas Crianza comes from our, the grapes proceed from our, not the oldest, but just the older part of our vineyards. It's a Tempranillo Crianza. Crianza means in our area that it has to be at least 6 months in oak. In this particular case, it has part of the wine has been in American oak and part in French oak. And our winemaker decides when he takes when it's enough, just when it's in a balance between fruit and wood and so on. So 1 year is 6 months, 1 year is 8 months, but following the law, it's the minimum is 6 months to call it Crianza.
And how old are the vines?
These wines for Crianza, they're older than 30 years.
Okay. Now, one of the things I love about this wine is that it is very accessible, yet it still has a lot of typicity. It really does reflect the region, and I think for wines that are of this price point, I think again that is something that is a great thing for the consumer when they can have accessible wines that also have that sense of place and taste like from where they are grown. So I think that's great. What's your favorite food with this wine, Francisco?
Entonces, ¿qué comerías tú con...?
Yo comería paella, carnes y todo tipo de verduras, embutidos, etc.
Paella, meat,
Meat,
Vegetables.
lamb.
yeah, pan, cordero.
Which is very typical from Valdepeñas. So the mancha cheese comes as well from Valdepeñas. So
Okay.
lamb and Valdepeñas wine is very traditional.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Our pick again this week is the Navarro Lopez Old Vines Tempranillo Pergolas 2010 vintage from Valdepeñas, Spain, and it retails for $14.99. Salud.
Salud.